New Zealand's governance debate runs on two axes: how the state is organised and financed, the structure, revenue and accountability of local government and the planning system, and how the treaty relationship is institutionalised, co-governance versus equal citizenship. The solution space is unusually well documented by the country's own reform record, which shows a sharp split. Process, fiscal framework and bounded settlement reforms stick, while machinery of government restructures and standing co-governance arrangements churn at every change of government. The central judgment for each approach is therefore not whether the underlying problem is real, but whether the solution is delivered in a durable form and can command support across the left/right divide rather than ping-ponging with the electoral cycle. Council amalgamation and structural consolidation. Fragmented local government lacks the scale to plan coherently, attract specialists and fund infrastructure. Merging councils or rationalising their CCOs into fewer, larger entities eliminates duplication and enables region-wide planning. Variants run from full supercity mergers, Wellington, to CCO consolidation, Auckland 7-3, to a standing regional coordination council, Canterbury. Its flagship moves are: amalgamate Wellington City, Hutt, Porirua, Upper Hutt and GWRC into a single council with local boards retained. Reduce Auckland's council-controlled organisations from 7 to 3 with direct council oversight. Establish a formal Canterbury Regional Coordination Council, CCC Waimakariri Selwyn ECAN, iwi, to align growth, infrastructure and water. The central tension: efficiency, fewer, larger councils, versus legitimacy, many smaller, locally accountable ones. Larger entities dilute local voice and the Auckland supercity did not deliver the promised savings or fix infrastructure underinvestment. This has been tried. The 1989 forced mass amalgamation, 700 plus entities down to 86 TAs 14 regional councils, stuck and is the durable baseline. The 2010 Auckland supercity stuck, but stayed contentious and was never copied. The 2013-15 Wellington/regional amalgamation proposal was abandoned by the Local Government Commission in 2015 after council and public opposition, without reaching a binding poll. In the same period, the 2015 Hawke's Bay merger proposal was rejected in a binding poll, 66% against. The Future for Local Government Review 2023 recommended boundary and funding reform and was shelved in 2024. One-off forced mergers can stick, but the legitimacy ceiling blocks national rollout and proposals are repeatedly shelved or voted down. Its durability outlook is rated likely reversed. Collaborative coordination and shared services, no merger. Structural amalgamation is unnecessary and disruptive. The same coordination gains can be achieved through binding joint committees, a statutory regional spatial plan, shared services entities for water/waste/transport, and collaborative stakeholder forums, preserving local councils while pooling capacity. Its flagship moves are: legislate a Wellington Regional Infrastructure Authority Leadership Committee with binding decisions and mandatory participation of all TAs, single shared services entity for water, waste and transport across councils in a region, co-developed regional strategic plan and CUM-style water user forums, farmers, environmental groups, iwi, urban councils, for collaborative zone management. The central tension: voluntary coordination is repeatedly undermined by parochial politics, and shared services without structural change retain accountability diffusion, so the model can entrench the very fragmentation it is meant to overcome. This has been partly tried. Collaborative regional mechanisms have been tried in pieces, most prominently Canterbury's CUM's zone committees, which have persisted as a relatively low-conflict model, but binding region-wide coordination authorities have generally not been legislated. Coordination has more often defaulted to the contested amalgamation debate. As a soft, process-flavoured layer, it tends to persist quietly without resolving the underlying capacity and funding gap. Its durability outlook is rated likely contested. Local government revenue and fiscal reform. Councils cannot fund their mandate from a slow-growing, regressive rates base. The fix is the fiscal instrument, not the org chart. Give councils a local share of GSD, automatic infrastructure development levies, or a shift from capital value to land value rates, so revenue matches infrastructure and service responsibilities. Its flagship moves are: legislate a 1% Auckland GSD share return to the council for infrastructure, $400-500M/year. Introduce a mandatory infrastructure development contribution schedule with automatic CPI adjustment, replacing negotiated consent conditions, commission a transition from capital value general rates to site land value rates. The central tension: the Crown has historically resisted ceding revenue (GST) sharing, and an LVT or levy transition creates identifiable windfall and hardship losers who can mobilise against it. The political economy of central government giving up a revenue stream is unfavourable. Development contributions and value-based rating exist, but the headline reforms, especially a local GST share, have been proposed for years and never legislated because the Crown will not cede the revenue. This sits alongside the never-enacted capital gains tax as a recurringly recommended, never-delivered fiscal reform. Its durability outlook is rated likely durable. Devolution and community control. The problem is over-centralisation of decisions, not just money, push decision-making authority, with commensurate funding, down to local boards and community-controlled organisations, on the theory that those closest to problems hold the most relevant knowledge. Its flagship moves are transfer binding authority and dedicated budgets over local parks, facilities and roads to local boards, fund community-controlled development organisations in high-need areas with capital and decision rights, require councils to delegate to, not merely consult, local boards on primarily local matters. The central tension: ring-fenced devolved budgets reduce the ability to cross-subsidise high-need areas from high-revenue ones, potentially widening inequality, and local boards may lack the technical and governance capacity for complex capital decisions. This has been partly tried. Auckland's local board layer exists but has long complained of being consulted rather than empowered, with limited real authority and budget. Genuine devolution with funding has not been delivered at scale. The capacity gap that the national pattern identifies for small councils applies equally to under-resourced local boards, so devolution without capacity building tends to underperform. Its durability outlook is rated likely contested. Open government, transparency and integrity enforcement. Trust is restored by making decisions visible and breaches consequential. Proactively publish contracts, performance dashboards and meeting records, lower donation disclosure thresholds, and back transparency with enforcement. Extended Auditor-General jurisdiction, cooling off periods, competitive tender rules. So disclosure is not mere compliance theatre. Its flagship moves are proactively publish all council/CCO contracts over a threshold within 30 days and livestream/archive board meetings with searchable transcripts. Public quarterly performance and infrastructure spending dashboards against long-term plan commitments. Extend Auditor-General jurisdiction over CCO procurement. Impose a 2-year cooling-off period for senior staff. And lower campaign donation disclosure thresholds. Central tension: transparency versus capacity and access versus integrity trade-offs. Proactive disclosure of commercial contracts can weaken future negotiating positions and chill candid internal deliberation. Dashboards can be gamed by metric selection, and cooling-off periods narrow the talent pipeline. Enforcement also needs Auditor-General capacity that is already stretched. This has been partly tried. The transparency baseline OIA/LGOIMA, the Auditor-General pecuniary interest rules, is long established and durable. Every government finds disclosure machinery useful and absorbs it. The proposed enhancements, proactive contract publication, real-time dashboards, extended CCO audit cooling-off periods, are incremental extensions of an entrenched architecture rather than new structures, and have been adopted piecemeal. Its durability outlook is rated likely durable. Participatory and deliberative democracy reform. Low turnout is a trust and relevance problem, not just a logistics one. Raise participation and connection to outcomes through online and easier voting, automatic enrollment, SDV, ward boundary adjustments, participatory budgeting, and citizens' assemblies on long-horizon questions. Its flagship moves are trial online voting and automatic enrollment at 18 for local elections, introduce participatory budgeting for a slice of local board discretionary spending, and add wards in underrepresented areas, establish randomly selected citizens' assemblies for long-term infrastructure and climate planning, SDV as default for councils. The central tension: access versus integrity. Online voting raises cybersecurity and legitimacy concerns. SDV adds ballot complexity, and the risk that deliberative or participatory budget processes are captured by engaged minorities or operate only on trivial sums, while the structural decisions stay elsewhere. This has been partly tried. Pieces have been trialled. Some councils use SDV. Online voting trials have been proposed and legislated for at various points, e.g. the cancelled 2016 local election trial and repeatedly delayed or pulled over security concerns, participatory budgeting run in places, but no durable nationwide shift in local election turnout or participation architecture has resulted. Citizens' assemblies remain occasional and advisory. Its durability outlook is rated likely contested. Treaty co-governance and partnership. Te Tiriti guarantees tino rangatiratanga, co-governance of natural resources and public services with mana whenua, and in the urban case, urban Māori bodies, fulfills that obligation and improves outcomes. The practical partnership variant pursues the same goal through service delivery contracts, tikanga in process, and cultural impact assessments rather than standing structural co-governance. Its flagship moves are establish statutory co-governance entities for harbours, freshwater and whenua with mana whenua and council representation, e.g. under RMAS 33, entrench binding treaty compliance roles, e.g. independent Māori statutory board iwi seats on water and planning boards, and fund urban Māori governance bodies. Practical variant, preferential procurement for iwi providers, tikanga protocols in planning, mandatory mana whenua cultural impact assessments on consents. The central tension lands directly on New Zealand's sharpest values cleavage, co-governance versus equal citizenship. It is a genuine constitutional disagreement, not bad faith, is legally unresolved, and is acutely vulnerable to reversal at each change of government, with the added complication of overlapping iwi rohe and the mana whenua versus urban Māori divide. This has been tried. Standing co-governance has churned fast and hard. Three Waters iwi co-governance was repealed in 2024 before operating, and the Māori Health Authority was disestablished after barely 2 years. The durable form of treaty redress is the bounded, full and final settlement and settlement-derived arrangements, Waikato Tainui Ngai Tahu, Te Urewera and Whanganui legal personhood, Waikato River co-governance, which have held bipartisanly. The practical partnership variant, procurement, cultural impact assessment, has persisted more quietly as it imposes no standing constitutional veto. Its durability outlook is rated likely reversed, equal citizenship and one person, one vote. Democratic legitimacy requires equal political weight for every citizen regardless of ethnicity. Treaty obligations should be met through economic settlements and asset return, not through permanent ethnicity-based governance structures. Māori underrepresentation is addressed by lifting participation through general democratic channels and deprivation indexed, not ethnicity-specified, representation. Its flagship moves are remove ethnicity-based appointment and co-governance provisions from council governance structures, direct treaty fulfillment through economic settlements and asset return rather than governance co-design, lift Māori and Pacific participation via targeted electoral engagement programs and lower barriers to standing. The central tension, formal equality that ignores structural disadvantage may not deliver substantive equality, and economic settlements without governance rights have historically not translated into political influence. This is the mirror image values dispute to the co-governance camp, and equally unresolvable on evidence alone. This has been tried. The maximalist statutory version, the Treaty Principles Bill seeking to redefine the treaty's principles around equal citizenship, was defeated at second reading 112-11 in April 2025, after the largest ever hikoi, with coalition partners capping support at first reading. The equal citizenship reading has, however, been the de facto basis of the 2024 rollbacks of co-governance bodies, so the unilateral statutory entrenchment failed, while the rollback by repeal posture succeeded. Its durability outlook is rated likely reversed.